Are you sure? Yep. You ready? I'm letting Travis get ready. Now you're ready? Fantastic. Got the right earphones in. We're ready to go. Oh, good evening, everyone. And thank you, everyone who has come this evening for the Wildwood City Council Candidate Forum. We have 9 candidates here this evening for 8 positions. And as we go through everything this evening, I'm going to start off by giving you an overview of how the night's going to go. And then we're going to have a welcome from our mayor. And then we'll jump into questions. So my name is Yvette Kell. I'll be moderating this evening. I'm from the League of Women Voters in St. Louis. The League of Women Voters is helping with moderation with our candidate forums throughout the St. Louis County and metro area, because we very much believe in our democracy and being a part of that democracy. And these candidate forums are a very important tool to help in that process, to provide candidates with the ability to put out their information, as well as provide citizens the information they need in order to be an informed voter. So before I get into ground rules and moving into more of the evening, I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Jim Bolin and have him welcome us this evening.
Okay, thank you, Yvette. So really, I just have several thanks I want to give. First of all, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this. It is, as you pointed out, very important for our democracy, and without you, this wouldn't be possible. So thank you for doing that. I want to thank everyone who's here this evening and everyone who's watching tonight and maybe watching later. It's important to get educated on the candidates. And lastly, I want to thank each of the candidates and everyone in their lives that let them serve this city. It takes a lot of time, and all of our residents, I'm sure, are benefited from it, and I greatly appreciate their willingness to step forward, and I wish each one of them the best of luck. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So as I had stated earlier, we have 9 candidates here this evening for 8 positions, and we will begin shortly with opening statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for opening statements. We will also then, after we're done with opening statements, we will move to questions, and with each question, each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. Everyone has a right to answer every single question that we have. Any question that is directed at any one person, I will tweak to have everyone be able to answer. And then at the end, you will have 2 minutes for closing statements. We ask that you focus your remarks on what you believe and not necessarily refer to your opponents or to the other candidates on the podium. If anyone in the audience has questions, we would appreciate those questions at this time. We did receive 3 questions prior to the forum this evening, and those will be the questions that we begin with. But if anybody in the gallery back here has any questions, now would be a great time to use the cards provided in the back by the League of Women Voters volunteers to write down some great questions and hand them over to us so we can ask our wonderful candidates for their answers. And an oversight on mine was tonight we have our timekeeper. Denise Burr is going to be serving as our timekeeper. She has a lovely paddle that she will throw up at 30 seconds, and then she'll throw up stop. And if she needs to throw the paddle at you, that's a problem. So we would appreciate as you finish, as you see the stop sign, that we come to a close with the remark. We ask that everyone in the gallery remain respectful of the candidates, and we would like to keep all of our applause and any outbursts to ourselves until the end of the forum, and we will give one final applause for all of our wonderful candidates. And this evening, we will start with our opening remarks, and we'll be going in the order that the candidates will be seen on the ballot. I'll be reading them by wards as well as how they're going to read on the ballot. We are missing one candidate this evening, and I will mention that at the end. But I would like to introduce all the candidates at this time. We have Miss Teresa Clarke, who is in Ward 1, Don Bartoni for Ward 2, Scott Ottenberg for Ward 3, and Tracy Nyan, ooh, I didn't do it, I'm so happy, for Ward 3 as well. Joe Farmer for Ward 4, Ed Marshall, Ward 5, Deborah Smith McCutcheon for Ward 5, Mr. Rob Rambo for Ward 6, and Mr. Dan Flesher for Ward 7. And this evening, we're missing Mr. Michael Jelani, who will be shown on the ballot on April 5th. So as we begin this evening, we're going to start with Teresa. And as I said, you have 2 minutes for your opening statements. And Denise will throw up at 30 seconds and at stop time. So Teresa, let's start with you. Can you please turn your microphone on?
Thank you to the residents who have taken the time to attend the forum, to the city staff who have facilitated this forum, and to the League of Women Voters who have made this forum possible. As a body that acts as a legislative branch of Wildwood's city government, our council works according to the charter and the master plan. These two documents guide our actions to provide the best possible outcome for all the residents. As a member of the Wildwood City Council body, it's my job to put my primary focus on the overarching good of the city as a whole, with emphasis on Ward 1. The mayor and council have spent many hours over the past year to develop an extensive 5-year strategic plan that identified and prioritized our 8 major goals and many sub-goals under the 8. My work, school, and life background have prepared me to research what the needs are first before making my target goals. When the needs and outcomes are understood, we can state the goals specifically, identify a way to measure our progress, outline process and design steps to attain those goals, verify that it will be beneficial, and make tentative timing schedule. My approach is logical and methodical, yet compassionate and caring. With any topic that's brought before the council, it's foremost important to consider how it will affect the future of the city, how we can maximize the results and achieve the goal with minimal waste of time, money, and energy. Wayne Gretzky once said, "I skate where the puck is going, not where it's been." As your council representative, I will focus efforts on where we want to be as a city, not where we have been.
Thank you very much. Mr. Don Partoni.
Microphone. I also want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's forum. Thank you to our staff, Mr. Newberry and Mr. Cross, for helping, and to all of our residents. My wife and I have lived in Wildwood. We live in Strecker Farm subdivision for almost 10 years. I was born here in St. Louis. I was raised down in the city. I've been on the city council since 2017. I've served on the Historic Preservation Committee, Admin Public Works, Planning and Parks. I'm currently the chair of the Planning and Parks Committee. And before I was on council, I served on the Planning and Zoning Commission. My priorities as a council member are to adhere to the master plan, especially regarding environmental, land use, and services, adhere to the city charter. The city charter is our constitution. Find a solution for our erosion problems around many of our creeks and properties. I'm going to steal a line that somebody said earlier this week. Our residents probably don't want us to spend money on erosion, but they need us to spend money on erosion. Find a solution for broadband internet access for all residents. We have a solution in place, and we're working towards, I think, a pretty good solution for our residents. Continue to protect and preserve our environmental green spaces, protect our residents' right to privacy, continue the economic development in Wildwood, especially the town center area, and make Wildwood, all 68 square miles of it, more inclusive, especially the areas down off of Wild Horse Creek and down 109. And I look forward to the challenge and opportunity to representing the residents of Ward 2. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move now to Mr. Scott Ottenberg.
Thank you. Thank you again to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this forum. Thank you to those of you in the audience who took the time to come out tonight. And thank you to those of you at home who are taking the time to watch us on the city's YouTube channel. My family has lived here within the city at our current address for 26 years, and we want to continue to see Wildwood be a great place to live. I believe my experience as a successful business leader managing a $180 million business operation allows me to contribute productively to the city council so that this city can continue to offer its residents the highest level of service at the lowest economical cost. In other words, exercising fiscal restraint, while at the same time protecting the rural character of the city. We've had several significant accomplishments over this past year. Councilmember Bartoni mentioned the internet access. We passed a bill to expand internet access to underserved areas without a tax increase. So that's significant. I've also had the privilege of working with HOAs to bring negligent properties up to code and also to increase safety levels in various neighborhoods by working with the Wildwood Precinct to implement programs like the Lock It or Lose It program, which deters vehicle tampering, vehicle theft, vehicle break-ins, and also just working with residents and HOAs on the regular, some might call it mundane, but very important things like fixing potholes, fixing light fixtures, fixing buckled sidewalks, the types of things that when taken in aggregate just enhance the overall quality of life for our residents. So I look forward to continuing my work on the city council going forward, protecting the rural character of the city, exercising fiscal restraint, continuing highway safety improvements, especially along Highway 109, and also working with the HOAs to take care of the daily needs of our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. As we move to Miss Tracy Meehan. So close.
And I looked at you guys and said, I'm not going to do that. I won't forget. And so anyways, thank you all for being here and thank you for putting this on. It's a really important event. So I'm very appreciative of that. Again, my name is Tracy Nine and I'm running for re-election for Ward 3 councilperson. I have been a Wildwood resident for 22 years, the longest I've ever lived anywhere. I moved here from Ohio. We chose Wildwood for our family, as so many families do, because of the schools, the beautiful scenery and the open spaces. I have 3 adult children. They all went to Lafayette, and I've been married for almost 35 years. Prior to running for council, I spent many years volunteering in the Rockwood School District. I chaired committees, held board positions, and eventually spent a combined 7 years as PTO president at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. I love this city, and I'm so anxious to continue to serve the residents of Ward 3 and all the citizens of Wildwood as part of city council. I promise to be an independent thinker, listen and react to resident concerns, work with all council members, mayors, city employees, and citizens in a courteous manner, support cost-effective spending and a balanced budget, make community safety a priority, and support the strategic plan that the council worked so long and hard on, as well as the charter and the master plan.
Thank you very much. As we move now to Mr. Joe Farmer.
I'm Joe Farmer. I've been on the council since 2019. I was appointed to take over a vacated seat. And so I guess this is my 3rd year technically on the council. And I think in the last 3 years, we've gotten to do a lot of big things that have been circling the city for a long time. A lot of the other folks up here have talked about the internet and our watershed issues and some other things. And so I'm super thankful for the opportunity to represent the residents of Ward 4 and just the city of Wildwood in general. I think one of the things that's really great about our current council is we all take very seriously the responsibility that is needed to kind of oversee our specific wards, but we are looking at a lot of really big citywide issues, and we're able to work together in a lot of different ways to do that. So I am, I guess, luckily running unopposed, as are many of my other council members here. So I am super thankful to all of the people out there watching, everybody that might vote for me to continue to let me represent you. And I hope I can do you all proud.
Thank you. And next up is Mr. Ed Marshall.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for taking time to join us tonight. And hopefully you get to know a little bit more about us. I've had the opportunity to serve the residents of our city for several years. Some might even say too many. I was the first resident appointed to fill an unexpired council member position in November of 1997, shortly after the first city charter was approved by the voters. I served as an elected council member in Ward 2 for 8 years, and then elected mayor of this great city in 2004 to 2008. And then in 2009, I was elected again to represent the residents in Ward 2 for an additional 8 years. Being termed out in April 2017, my wife and I downsized and relocated to Ward 5. So I'm here tonight because I believe I can add experience to the city council and seeking the opportunity to represent the unique needs of the residents in Ward 5. I've served on all of the standing city council committees and was a council representative to Planning and Zoning Commission multiple times. During my tenure, I've been involved in the update process for the master plan, the park and recreation review, the town center plan, and served as a committee chair for the 2017 Charter Review Committee. For the last 2 years, I've served on the Community Outreach Task Force of Councilman Fleischer in gathering information on over 50 community service organizations that are available for the Wildwood residents. I'll bring the unique experience of attending well over 1,000 public meetings and the explanation as to how and why we've grown into the city we are now. We're living in changing times, dictated by guidelines that continue to change, whether they be pushed down from the county, state, and federal government, or change based on the needs of our residents. I'd appreciate your vote on April 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Deborah Smith McCutcheon.
I'd like to thank the League of Women's Voters and for providing this opportunity to address the residents' questions, to the city of Wildwood for hosting this event, and to the residents who are participating either in person or via YouTube. I've been a Ward 5 resident in Wildwood for 26 years. I was appointed in 2011, and I've been reelected 5 times. I've served on 13 committees and as mayor pro tem. I have effectively represented residents by obtaining their input on city issues. I have proven track record of getting things done for the people. Responding to the request of Ward 5 residents, I've been instrumental in the following, but not limited to: the development of Green Pines Park, Cox Creek erosion mitigation along Shiva Court, initiating Wildwood's first domestic violence ordinance, obtaining developer escrow funds for subdivision improvements, replacing and adding additional trees, assisting residents with development concerns and developer violations, and increasing government transparency and communication for all residents. I've initiated a study to decrease sound along the Highway 100 and 109 corridor, improving safety throughout the ward, such as installation of warning lights and pedestrian crosswalks, moving the crossing at Taylor Road and Highway 100 farther west for safer passage, installation of stop signs and solar speed warning signs, mitigating traffic concerns, and working with the police department to reduce speeding. When I'm reelected, my #1 priority will continue to be listening to, advocating for, and serving the residents of Ward 5 and the city of Wildwood based on citizen input. Thank you.
Thank you. And on to Mr. Rob Rambo.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for attending. Hopefully a lot of virtual attendees out there. And thanks to the League of Women Voters for really decades of efforts to improve the quality of our election processes. Many of y'all know that I'm a 5th generation. I'm the 5th generation to live on what remains of my great-great-grandfather's family farm in Western Wildwood. And I think partly based on that history and background knowledge and commitment to the area, I was asked to consider serving on the city council. And here I am at the end of my first term. And I think we've accomplished some very good things. Folks have mentioned them already. I won't go into it again. But I'm grateful to work with a council that has learned to disagree without being disagreeable. We generally reach consensus. It's a great group of folks. The city should be proud of the way our business is conducted. We have a wonderful staff. We have a fine mayor pro tem. It's just, life is good. And I hope to continue as Ward 6 council representative. I'm unopposed, so unless there's a groundswell of support for Mickey Mouse or something like that, I will probably be one of your guys again. But I believe I've earned the votes of folks in Ward 6 because I've honored my commitments. I've shown up prepared, and if people call me about an issue, I come to their house, or I call them and I try to get the job done. And I would appreciate your positive vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And rounding us out, Mr. Dan Flasher.
Hi, I'm Dan Flasher from Ward 7. I'm happily married with 4 kids that are 10, twins, 8, and then a little girl who just turned 5. I'm proud to live in Wildwood, and I'm more proud to be part of the Fairway Elementary community where my kids attend school, and I serve on the PTO there. I also serve as the STL West president, which is a baseball association out here in the West County area, and I serve on the EAA board as well. I coach 3 teams, which is why I might have a little dirt on my shirt because I came from baseball practice tonight. I work at Prime Sports Midwest as a part-time associate and at my church, West Springs Church, where I've attended since I was 16 years old. I've lived out here for about 9 years now. I love the area, and I'm a stay-home father is my #1 role. And so I was looking for ways to serve, contacted the mayor, said, hey, what do you guys have out here for service opportunities? I want to be more involved in the community. And this was 2 years ago when I first got elected. He said, hey, how about council member? Oh man, throwing me into the fire right away. But I did it, and it's been quite the opportunity. It's been great, more than anything, getting to know some of the people up here that I'm sitting next to, but also getting to hear what's going on in our community and learn about things that I had no idea about. I came in with very little education about how a city is run, and I feel like I've come away with some information, and we'll explore that, I guess, and answer questions. Anyway, it's been a pleasure serving. I hope to continue doing it for a long time. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much for all of your opening statements. We're going to move to the question portion, and I'm going to change up the order just a little bit as we go through so that it's a different person starting every time and then round ourselves out. And I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but when we do closing statements, we'll do the reverse order for closing statements. So as we start with our first question, we're going to start with Mr. Don Bartoni. And the first question that came in from the constituents in Wildwood is, if you are seeking re-election, which many of you are, what campaign promises have you kept? And for those who are not necessarily seeking re-election, what would be campaign promises that you would be putting out there for the next 2 years?
So, I mean, good question. And some of the items that I mentioned in my priorities, I feel like we've kept those promises as an individual and as a council to adhere to the master plan, especially on the environmental part and the land use part. You know, the one thing that, 2 years ago we talked about, and it's become a priority within the council, is to find a solution for erosion and to find a solution for the lack of broadband internet in a lot of locations. I think with the internet, especially COVID, kind of even put that to the center of the stage, so to speak. But I think the council, with tremendous help from the staff, is taking advantage of some of the federal money that's become available. But I mean, just a lot of internal work that has taken place to come up with a solution for both of those.
Thank you. Mr. Scott Ottenberg, same question.
So over the past few months, I've had the privilege of working hard within the city to try to solve some of the various issues that the city faces. And two big issues that we have dealt with, I think, most effectively. One was the expansion of internet access to underserved areas without having to institute any type of a tax increase. So residents in the underserved areas will probably sometime within about the next 2 years finally have reliable, high-speed internet access. Also, about a month ago, I had the privilege of traveling down to Jefferson City with our Mayor Pro Tem, along with our legislative consultant. We met with several state representatives down there, as well as a couple of state senators, talking about the erosion issues, challenges that we face here within the city of Wildwood. About 10 days after that visit, we got a call from one of the state representatives telling us that some money should be available soon so that we can deal with some of these erosion issues that the city faces. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Tracy Nyan. Same question.
Okay, thanks. Well, since I've been here, I was a member of the Economic Development Committee, Planning and Parks, Admin Administration Committee at this point, and I'm a liaison to the Historic Preservation Committee, which I have to say I've really enjoyed. I've learned a lot of things about Wildwood that I did not know from a historic standpoint and a building standpoint. So that's been really fascinating to me. As far as accomplishments that I had in mind coming in, I really wanted to support the city, the town center and the village green that is in progress. And I think that's been a fabulous process with lots of input from residents, surveys, and it's going to be fantastic. We'll have to do it in phases based on cost, but it's going to really be the heart of the city, I hope, and a place to hold all of our events. I probably hear that from people more than anything, that they love to come up to the events that are here. And it's a community feel. And that's really important to me. The other thing was, to be fiscally responsible, which I think this council has worked really well to do. Oh, sorry, I guess I have to stop now. She's going to throw the paddle at me if I don't stop. How come mine went so much faster?
60 seconds goes by fast. It does go by fast. Mr. Joe Farmer, same question.
So the first time I ran for reelection a couple of years ago, the priorities that I was putting forth were the erosion task force, which I'm now the co-chair of, which is important. Internet, which was important and is important, and we're working really hard to get that stuff done. But I think probably the one I'm most proud of currently is that I made a commitment to work with the other members of the council and the city staff in a really civil way, and to work hard to get our problem solved as quickly and concisely as we can do it, which honestly isn't really that hard because everybody's pretty nice. But I think it says a lot these days when we can all come together. This many people can come together and work on difficult issues from a lot of different directions. So working together.
Thank you. Mr. Ed Marshall.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think probably the thing that I have tried to do and would continue to do is just listen to the residents. You can't always agree, but I think our job as an elected official is to listen to their concerns and then help explain why it is the way it is, whether they like it or not, but to respect the fact that everybody is not going to agree, and to follow up and let them know that here's what we can do, here's what we can't do, and here's why. And there's a lot of new people, and the people in many cases don't understand. Big focus on just the ongoing concern of the financial parts of the city and how we operated. When we started, it was $1.5 million budget. That was a long time ago. And in public safety with the police, we're blessed with great police services. When we started, we had 1.5, and now I think it's 46. So the city's grown by 20,000 people, and I think we have to continue to see how we better serve those 35,000 people.
Thank you. Miss Deborah Smith McCutcheon.
When I decided to run, I did so in order to provide Ward 5 with representation that was transparent and it was honest. And I promised to do everything with integrity. I've kept those, I believe. I have also we put together a grassroots campaign because the majority of the residents in Ward 5 wanted a neighborhood park. So we came together as a group and we accomplished that. And I think that's one of the things I'm most proud of, not just the development of the park, but the way in which the park came about, because we worked together as a community to make that happen. I'm also pleased that I promised that we'd address erosion concerns. As I mentioned earlier, we have accomplished that along Shiva Court, and we are currently working on that throughout the city. Hawks Creek does have a lot of erosion issues, and it's really impacted Ward 5. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Rob Rambo.
Right. I didn't make a lot of campaign promises per se, but I did tell folks that I would show up reliably. I would stand up for the rural wards, and I would speak up for the residents in the rural areas. I'm confident that most folks will be pleased with my performance in those regards. I really take it to heart that I serve the residents, and I try my best to follow up and do what they ask me to do. I promised to focus on environmental protections. I serve on the Erosion Task Force, the Internet Access Committee, the Planning and Parks Commission, and the Public Works Committee. And all of those opportunities have helped me deliver for the folks in Ward 6.
Thank you. Mr. Dan Flasher.
Yes. So my campaign, I talked a lot about Lake Chesterfield, right? That was the big issue. And I feel like I've been able to take that as far as it can go without the residents of Lake Chesterfield basically chiming in and telling us what we wanted. At one point, I even got the council to agree to consider helping with the cost of some of that stuff, depending on what that looked like. And I was proud of that. I was really proud of that. And though we still have an ongoing issue there with Lake Chesterfield, I feel like the ball's more or less in the residents' court, more so than it is in the council's court at this point. I was also big on recreational areas. I've been pushing really hard for the tennis courts and pickleball courts and stuff like that. And that seems to be going in the right direction as well. And then I was really adamant about being a peacemaker and bringing people together. And I think that some of these recreational things do just that. They bring people together. So I'm proud of that. And I feel like I've been a peacemaker for the most part. Hopefully I make you guys smile here and there when I chime in. But yeah, it's been, that's stuff I'm most proud of, doing the things I said I was going to do.
Thank you. And rounding us out, Ms. Teresa Clarke.
Thank you again. As I mentioned in my opening statement, we act as a body, not as satellites within the group, and we do that very well. We work together very well. And I think personally, I brought a focus on all of the issues that I was concerned with when I began. Focus on detail and data, and have even been called data girl. But to do that so that we can have a standardization to follow and identify, analyze, and solve concerns in a timely manner to reduce waste of time and money and energy. And in that way, we improve the city without spending more of our residents' money.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the next question. Actually, the next two questions involve the strategic plan that was mentioned a little bit ago. And as we work through the strategic plan that you just completed, the next question is, what are the 3 top issues that need to be addressed by the Wildwood City Council as it comes out of the strategic plan? And we are going to start with Mr. Scott Ottenberg.
3 things that the Wildwood City Council needs to be focused on going forward. Number 1 is protecting the rural character of the city and ensuring that we have smart development within the city, that we don't detract from that rural character. Number 2, it's to continue the rollout of the expansion of internet access to underserved areas. we've got that well underway in terms of developing a plan for that. And then number 3, and it's been mentioned by some of my fellow city council members, it's addressing the erosion issues that are at various locations throughout the city. If we focus on those 3 things, we will do a lot to enhance the quality of life for our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Tracy Nyan.
Yes, the 3 most important things out of the strategic plan were, number 1 was extension of the internet, which is well on its way and hopefully coming very soon. Also was financial resource development. So looking at our budgets and finding how can the city bring in more money? Where are there grant opportunities? Where are there federal funds we can have? Because we are spent, we need to spend more and everything's going up and it's more expensive, but we have to pay for it and we don't want to have to, do any kind of tax. So that was number 2. And then the third, as everyone's mentioned and everyone knows, is erosion. And I really want the citizens to understand that affects all of us. And the example I always use is, I don't know, it's probably a year or so ago, we had that horrible rain. Literally roads were closed and school was canceled because you couldn't get down some roads. And that doesn't mean you were by Cox Creek. That happened in multiple areas. So eventually it does affect everyone. Maybe it's not in your backyard, but it can affect your lifestyle for the whole city.
Thank you. Mr. Joe Farmer.
Yeah, I mean, I think as everybody stated, the internet issue, which is getting pushed pretty far down the line. I'm very hopeful with what we're hearing from the state about what we're going to possibly be able to do with some of this erosion issue. And then another big one was just sort of looking at the general finances of the city, not just making sure that we're being good stewards of the citizens' money, but also trying to understand and determine, are there better ways for the city to bring more money in? Because one of the things that I think we do here as a group is we like to provide as many services as we can to the citizens, but those services cost money and money is not an unlimited thing. So, internet, hopefully 2 of the 3 of these might be checked off here in the next 12 months, which would be great. And then obviously we'll always be on the search for money. It never stops.
Mr. Ed Marshall, same question.
Sure. Well, I actually didn't get to have a vote on the priorities, but I can tell you that the priorities are the same they've been since we've incorporated the city. And so we've worked on the internet for years and years, and this looks like this is the right opportunity with federal funding to help with those underserved. Erosion has been a problem, again, from the time we started the city, and was part of the reason the city was started. And the financial long-term structure of the city, I think we're very blessed that we have the controls that we have now, but that didn't happen without spending a lot of time focused on those. So I think that those 3 priorities are probably the best 3 you could find.
All right, Ms. Deborah Smith McCutcheon.
I'm going to sound like a broken record here. But, the internet is the top priority for the council, both serving those who are underserved and those who are without internet at all. And so everybody in the city of Wildwood is going to benefit from the federal stimulus money that we're using to increase our internet access. The other is, of course, the erosion issue. We are in the process of finding grants and working with the state government in order to pay for the erosion mitigation. And then the other thing, as everybody has said, is being a good fiscal steward of the residents' funds and to make sure that we decrease spending from the city, but increase our revenues in order to support the projects that our residents are asking for.
Dr. Rob Rambo.
Oh, I turned it off. Internet was number 1 with a bullet. It was, have decades of experience in education in just that area. And it was incredibly frustrating to see us spin our wheels as long as we did. I'm thrilled that we have it now. But the overarching theme that bubbles out of the strategic plan for me is trying to keep Wildwood. Yeah, erosion is one element of that. It's going to cost megabucks and we have to figure out how to pay for it. But we also do a lot with tree maintenance, park improvements, those kinds of things that are critical to maintaining the character of our community. So we just have, to ensure that we're fiscally responsible about those efforts and improvements, and of course, finding the funds.
Thank you. Mr. Dan Flasher?
Yeah, like everybody else said, internet to me was the #1 goal, and I'm really glad we're close here to having a solution. I think COVID really exposed how bad it was for some people. Kids not being able to attend school virtually was just crazy to me. And that's where that's where my heart went and my mind went when this all started happening, because I know how hard it was for me, and I had decent internet, so I can't imagine what it was like for everybody else. And then the funding sources, that's big. That pays for things like erosion, that pays for things like tennis courts, whatever it is that people are into. So that was a big one. And then erosion is a big issue. And then, like Mr. Rambo just said, it's going to be really expensive. So I'm interested to see how that plays itself out and how effective it will be. Thanks.
And swinging around, Miss Teresa Clarke.
It's tough being near the end when there's only 3 things to talk about. But anyway, the strategic plan is a living plan. It's not a document that's just, we made it and that's what we stick with. We spent a lot of hours together, led by the mayor, in developing criteria for prioritizing each one of these issues. And we looked at the ones that affected the city the most. Of course, we put safety as #1 priority. Using this as a tool, it helps us to stay on track, but it has a bit of flexibility. So some of these other issues that arise, and of course, the 3 that everyone has talked about are the 3 top ones on there. The internet has just been a great project now that we can set back and go, wow, that was great that we're at this point and going to start work on it next month is what we are anticipating. And the Treasury Department did come through with their final rule to so that we can use the ARPA funds for that.
Okay, thank you. And rounding us out, Mr. Don Bartolome.
Thank you. Yeah, it is hard to not sound like a broken record, but obviously internet was everybody's top priority on the strategic plan. Federal funds obviously gave that a big boost. And when you got the money that we got, then the internet providers all of a sudden show up also. You know, it hasn't been for lack of effort over these last many years. Erosion is, on that list also. That's going to be incredibly expensive for this city. I mean, into the millions and millions of dollars. We are hoping for state and federal support, but we haven't seen any of that yet. But the #2 item on our list on the strategic plan, if I remember right, was revenue. And we do need to find other sources of revenue. The Wayfair tax was discussed here. I was on the minority on that. Well, hopefully the county actually passes that. We are asking our staff to do more and more trails, more parks. That means more maintenance of Village Green. And with this erosion, we are going to need more money as a city in the future.
Thank you. All right, we may have some similar answers for the next question as well, but feel free to change it up a little bit if you'd like to. This is also regarding the strategic plan, but more about the implementation of it and really looking at your thoughts on 1, 3, and 5 years down the road. What does success look like to you? So putting the implementing the strategic plan, where are your benchmarks and what does success look like to you? And we're going to start with Miss Tracy Nyan.
I guess success would be, I'd start with the internet and say, as much as that can be a completed project, it can also be a continuing project because the internet's going to change and the way we get it will change as we go. So I'm hoping, obviously, the underserved will go first, but that may be something we continue on into the future. And we have to be concerned with erosion. I would, hopefully we can address the top 3 areas first. But again, that's not going away. That's going to be a lifelong issue for Wildwood. And I guess then financially, it would look like we have a great reserve. The city's very responsible with their money. But I guess guess going forward, looking again for those additional revenue sources without having to tax it.
Thank you. Mr. Joe Farmer.
Maybe to change it up a little bit, I think, for me, the success of the strategic plan, whether it's 1, 3, or 5 years down the line, is that one, that we're going to get some closure on some issues that are big parts of closure. They're going to be ongoing things, but these are things that have been discussed for, in some cases, since the city was founded. And so it hasn't been for lack of trying. It just has never really been able to get pushed across the finish line, so to speak. So my hope is that because we have spent so much time and energy putting some real priorities in place, that we'll be able to get some things finished and then also fill back in that document as it is a living document. It's not just like you check something off and now it's gone. We'll be able to go back and reevaluate now what are the big priorities and what are the things that are now going to move into the maintenance stage and things like that. So I think just continuing to move the city forward in a way and actually get some things happening rather than perhaps just having endless discussions, which has kind of been how it's gone for a while.
Mr. Ed Marshall.
Yeah, those that 1, 3, and 5 years will go by really, really quickly. And I think that the advantage will be that in 5 years from now, these will probably still be the top 3 priorities for the city. I think that the thing that's interesting is there are ways financially, and I think that the one of the first ones the city got involved with was a sewer project. We're putting sewer in homes where the individuals had to pay for that and there were debt involved in it. But I think there's only a few years left before that'll all be paid off. And back then it's like, oh my goodness, that's 15 or 20 years. But it goes by quickly. So I think that the 1, 3, and 5, there'll still be people who won't have internet, but maybe there are other ways than instead of having cable that you can do that. So I think as long as the plan is constantly checked and updated, the residents should be very pleased with those priorities. So, thank you.
Thank you. Miss Deborah Smith McCutcheon.
So I believe he asked, what would success look like with our strategic plan?
Yes. So what would success look like to you?
Yeah, and I think what is the most successful is the items and the projects that we can provide the most benefit to our residents. We may not accomplish everything that we want to in one area, but being able to accomplish anything and to move it forward, I think will benefit our residents in general. I think the internet is moving in the right direction. Like you said, not everybody's going to have internet. We're going to not completely solve that problem, but we are going to be supporting our residents. And I think that is the most important thing. And that's what I believe makes us the most successful.
Thank you. Rob Rambo.
Yes, I think the great thing is that we now have a plan. As has been mentioned, it's intended to be an evergreen document. We continually revisit it, and we're going to keep doing that in the future. It allows us to track our progress as long as we're moving the multi-year projects down the road and in a cost-effective manner, and figuring out some of the things that we need to figure out. I would consider that success. It's really difficult to improve on some of the things that have already been said about the strategic plan, but I believe in the process, and I think it was a great thing for us to create. It was like pulling teeth, but it was a very useful exercise for the city, and I think it will pay off in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Dan Flasher.
Yeah, I'm going to simplify it. To me, success is going to look like checking off boxes on that thing. If we can check off some boxes on that thing and feel like we really accomplished what we had seen as the goals for the city, then to me, that's success. And there's going to be things like erosion that are higher up on the list, but from a cost perspective point, might not be as feasible as getting something down lower on the list. And that's okay, as long as we're not forgetting about erosion and just pushing it to the side. I feel like we're moving in the right direction. That was the point of the thing in the first place. So to me, checking off boxes, and 5 years from now, if the list is smaller or there's completely new things, then it was a success to me.
Thank you. Ms. Teresa Clarke.
Thank you. Well, I think that the strategic plan is a measurement tool in itself. So we made the plan and we made it specific so that we could look at each one of these goals and the sub goals that we made. And like Dan said, we are checking them off, but to look at it and see what percentage we have accomplished over the first year, say, and then at that review, we can reassess how our process for evaluating and for prioritizing and maybe improve on that. And each year we'll get better at it, but we can look at our strategic plan and see how much success we have had and where we need to spend more time and maybe even revise our process of the strategic plan.
Thank you. Mr. Don Bartolini.
Thank you. I mean, I think that the ultimate success, let's just say 5 years from now, is we have 5 different items on the list. But I think that that would be a little naive also, especially 1 and 3 years down the road. But, you know, we can have broadband internet available for everybody. It might not be in every house, but it could be available for everybody. There could be a plan in place for that. We have a plan for erosion that would be fully funded. That would be a big accomplishment for us. And then we have the revenue to fund all of these items that we've discussed tonight, and we have the revenue to satisfy our residents, their needs and their wants.
All right. And then rounding us out, Mr. Scott Oddberg.
Thank you. To me, success looks like everyone has access to high-speed internet everywhere in the city. There are no more dark spots. Erosion is no longer an issue because we have fixed all of the problems everywhere. We've addressed traffic safety concerns throughout the city, like 100 going into Ellisville and Route 109 going from Clayton Road up to BA. That's a very dangerous corridor there, and we need to address the traffic issues along there. And also, we continue to be good stewards of the residents' tax dollars, making sure that they're spent wisely. I'm one of those who feels that any proposed change in tax rates should be considered only as an absolutely last resort, that we should always look at the city budget first and see if there isn't some way to reallocate funds in order to address some particular issue that may come up along the way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I also apologize because I was probably part of the traffic problem on 100 in Clayton today. I have a heavy foot. I apologize. Okay, we are going to change gears just a little bit. And some of you mentioned many of your committee roles and things that you are doing in the community. The question is, a community leader should be an active member of the community, and they would like to know how deeply you are involved in contributing to the Wildwood community in recent years. And we will start this round with Mr. Joe Farmer.
Well, I guess outside of being on the council, I'm the president of the Homeowners Association for Westland Farms, which is, I guess, one of the larger subdivisions in the town, in the city. I'm really involved in my kids' schools. And then when I was appointed to the council, I think I've served on at least a little bit on pretty much all the boards and commissions that we've got going, with the exception of safety and adjustment, I think. But it's an interesting thing to be involved with, whether you're the co-chair, so you get a lot of information, as I am with watershed erosion, or spending some time with historic preservation. I think getting a really well-rounded view of what is going on in your city is important. And sometimes the only way to do that is to participate in some of these things. I think we work really hard as council members to find people that want to fill these roles. I know the mayor works tirelessly to try to find people to fill a lot of them. And so, you know, it's a little nerve-wracking to not ever having done anything like this before, to step up and do it. But I think putting yourself out there to learn about what's going on in your city is important. So any opportunity you can take to serve, you should take it.
Thank you. Mr. Ed Marshall.
Sure. I think, and maybe it was Joe that said that, I think as our involvement kind of moves over the years, you know, always was involved with our kids, raising the kids in Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and doing those type of things. The Wildwood Historic Society, as they were moving through their stages of just trying to find places to meet, the community emergency response team with Metro West and things that were involved there. But in the last few years, then I've been involved in the Wildwood Area Lions Club. And then that becomes the district and that becomes the state, and just doing more community service to try to make our communities a better place to live.
Thank you. Ms. Deborah Smith McCutcheon.
Thank you. I go to a lot of HOA meetings to see what the needs are to meet the residents. So I'm involved with the community in that respect. Also, I've been involved with the Rockwood School District for many years. I've had 2 sons graduate from Lafayette High School. Participated. I was room mom for all the grades until they said you can't be here anymore. So I've been soccer mom, baseball mom, with all the sports located here in West County. I also work closely with Rockwood School District. I'm coordinator for parents, teachers in Ferguson Florissant School District. And Rockwood and the Rockwood coordinator and myself are part of the leadership team for the area, making sure that we are doing what is best for children, making sure children have the resources that they need to become the best that they can possibly be.
Thank you. Mr. Rob Rambo.
In addition to my service on the committees that I mentioned earlier, I serve on the Missouri University Extension Council, which does all kinds of things for the community. They're going to be at the Lawn and Garden Summit this weekend, collecting soil samples from people so they can, test their soil and help them, figure out what plants are appropriate for their soil type, et cetera. I have completed CERT training, community emergency response team training that Mr. Marshall mentioned. I do a lot of my efforts at the retail level. I evangelize among my friends and neighbors and the community at large concerning invasive species removal, habitat restoration, and those kinds of things. And it's a full-time job on my own land, but I always manage to help my neighbors do that sort of thing as well.
Dan Flasher.
Yes. My community service is, my main thing probably is the EAA stuff, the ballpark stuff. Helps me really get to know families with kids, which I enjoy kids. I enjoy being around kids. I enjoy their way of looking at life. And it helps me meet a lot of families that have younger children. So I feel like I'm really involved with that kind of atmosphere. Being involved with my kids' schools also been a blessing in the sense that I can get to know families and be a big part of the Ward 7 Fairway community. But also I got to serve as chair on the Community Outreach Task Force. And it was really neat to learn about the stuff that's in our backyard and kind of figure out how the city can support them and how we can get information out to the residents about them. And I'm looking forward to this all kind of rolling out and being a big resource for our community.
Thank you. Ms. Teresa Clarke.
Thank you again. Well, kids are my favorite people, so I enjoy being around them. I've done quite a bit of tutoring deaf and hard of hearing students of high school in the area, and that gives me a lot of pleasure to see them move forward. They have a lot to offer. Work with disabilities, and right now I'm currently working with Council Member Garitano, who's the chair of the Admin Public Works Committee, to develop comprehensive Wildwood accessibility plan that will be presented to the committee in April. And our general principles are just to welcome people with disabilities to the city as well as anyone else. And our intent is to give them dignity and respect to the actual needs of our residents and visitors. So that's the main thing that I'm working with now. Over my lifetime, I've done many different things, but that's my focus at the moment.
Thank you. Mr. Don Bartoni.
Thank you. So my wife and I, we don't have any kids at home. They're grown and they're out on their own. And then about 5 or 6 years ago, we were talking about looking for opportunities to volunteer. And we've done some things with our church and some different things, but One of my mentors at the beginning, when I got involved with the city, was Ray Manton. And Ray came to me with an opportunity to be on planning and zoning. And I just looked at it as like, okay, well, this is like a volunteer thing. And, it's closer to home. I'm doing some volunteering within the area I live. Then an opportunity came with council when Mr. Marshall had term limits. So I'm getting even deeper involved into the community, which I liked. The committees, you get close to the staff and the residents. But like Deborah said, I go to a lot of HOA meetings. They're very personal. You do get to know the residents on a personal level. You get to know what their needs are and just helping them out. And, it's not in the scope of things. It might not be things that would make our strategic plan, but they're big things for the residents.
Thank you. Mr. Scott Oddberg.
Thank you. Two areas of community involvement that I've had. One is with Haven House, which is an organization similar to the Ronald McDonald House, which provides room and board for families who are bringing their children into the St. Louis area for medical care. Another area, it's a passion for me, is I've been a self-defense instructor for about 20 years within the YMCA system. I've worked with everyone from autistic children to the visually impaired, to women who have come out of abusive relationships. Nothing is more satisfying than to teach people the skill set necessary to deal with stressful situations. I never want to see anyone in this world ever be in a situation where they feel like they're intimidated and they can't deal with the situation on their own terms.
Thank you. And rounding us out, Tracy Nyan.
Yes, I guess I would say, obviously council is a deep involvement and it takes a lot of time, especially with the different committee meetings. I do serve as a trustee in my subdivision, Oak Ridge Trails. I do some work with, I pick up food from the bread coves to take to St. Albans to deliver for the food bank, because it's maddening to me. If you don't pick it up, they throw it away. And I'm bound to determine wherever I am, whatever the weather is, I'm getting there because this is benefiting so many people. And obviously, my kids are grown and gone too, all adults, but I've coached volleyball, which I knew nothing about, but they needed a volleyball coach. So I volunteered. And, I've been the soccer mom. I've done all those kind of things and worked in the schools. But now my main focus, I guess I would say, is council and our HOA.
Thank you very much. And thank you for all your thoughtful responses. I should have announced at the last one, but that was going to be the last question. So I apologize for that. That was an oversight on my part. But we're going to move to closing statements now. And as I said in the beginning, you have 2 minutes for closing statements. So this is your opportunity to leave anybody with the last thing that they need to know about you and anything else that you want to put out there. And again, you have 2 minutes for your closing statement. And we're going to start at the other end of the horseshoe here with Mr. Don Flasher. And please take it away.
Yeah, thanks. Once again, thanks for putting this on. This is a great opportunity for us to know kind of what's on people's minds, what questions people have. So it's been fun to kind of go through this, hear what my fellow council members have to say about this stuff too. Yeah, the election's coming, like Joe said. I'm unopposed. You really don't have another choice. I apologize that you don't. But I appreciate it if you show up and vote. And I thanks for letting me serve in this role for the last couple of years.
Thank you. Rob Rambo.
Yes, I'm also really grateful for the opportunity to serve. I didn't know what I was in for. It really is a lot of work, but it's gratifying. It allows me to keep a handle on the issues that face the community and feel like I'm helping people out. It's been incredibly rewarding. As Dan mentioned, we're probably what you're going to get. But I would appreciate a positive vote because I've worked very, very hard to move things along with the council in a cooperative way. I do extra effort on some of the community or some of the committee assignments and so on and so forth. I'm a documentation animal. The only downside, the main downside that folks might see with me is I'm an academic, and if there's a half hour worth of thoughts in my head about a particular topic, I got to spend a half hour getting them out and I only have 5 minutes to do so. So I'm really not good at that. I'm never going to be good at that. So I apologize to everyone that listens to me ramble up on the dais, but I have put the thought into the issues and I'm doing my best on your behalf and I'd appreciate your vote.
Thank you. Ms. Smith-McCutcheon?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to one of the questions you asked earlier and be a little bit more specific. I've kept all my campaign promises that I made when I was elected by working with residents to make a neighborhood park a reality, addressing erosion concerns, and listening to and advocating for residents. Through various committees, I have worked to increase government communication with residents via live stream and obtaining expansion of the mailing radius for public notification. I participated in developing the neighborhood edge transition area, which creates less density for the town center area, assisted in clarifying and streamlining governmental processes, worked to decrease city expenditures and increase revenue. And I'm currently working on Ward 5 residents' requests, which are installation of a pickleball, basketball, and tennis court in the community park, trail connecting Green Pines Park to the villages of Brightleaf Park Trail, and installation of a Pond Grover Parkway landscape median to enhance safety, and mitigation of noise along Highway 100 and 109 corridor. I promise to continue to listen and to be a tireless advocate for residents with honesty, integrity, and transparency, and to uphold the founder's vision of a government of, for, and by the people. I thank the residents for the honor and the privilege to serve them and to be their voice on City Council. And I look forward to continue partnering with them as a representative. And to learn more about my service to Ward 5 and the City of Wildwood, please check out my Facebook page, McCutcheon for Wildwood. And thank you for your attention this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Ed Marshall?
Yes, thank you to League of Women Voters and the city staff for holding this event. I think this is always a great opportunity. Unfortunately, we hope that more people would show up. My reason for serving on the City Council is to promote efficient local government and to represent the needs of Ward 5 as they relate to the progress of the entire city. It's our challenge as council members to balance the needs of a growing city, both residential and commercial, without doing damage to the environment. I'm committed to devote the time and energy to continue to make Wildwood a great place to live, raise our families, and I'll listen to all sides of the issue before us, representing the residents without any hidden agendas or preconceived notions. So I'd appreciate your vote on April 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Joe Farmer?
I think that I've always actually felt, ever since I was a kid, I guess my parents maybe instilled this in me, that voting for somebody is super important. Just voting in general, caring about what's happening in your world is an important thing. So I appreciate, the League of Women Voters for putting these things on, because, they are certainly not the most exciting thing in the world to listen to or whatever. But I do think it's important to vote. I was thinking the only election I think I've ever missed was when I had COVID last spring and I couldn't go vote, and I felt really bad about it. When I got appointed to this seat, I honestly did not have much of a concept of what person meant. I really didn't fully know what the time commitment was going to be. And I don't know that any of us really do until you kind of get up here and you get to see it. So I think, most of us are running unopposed. Most of us ran unopposed the last time. And maybe that means we're all doing a really great job. I hope that's the case. But I think, what we're trying to do is be transparent and do this well. And so for myself, for the residents that I haven't had a chance to talk to yet, you can find me on the website, shoot me an email, drop me a phone call. I love to talk to the residents and figure out what's going on. I also love to talk to people that are pretty insistent on a very singular issue that they maybe don't fully understand. And so helping people through those difficult things and helping people see how we need to work together is important. And so, like several of the others, I'm most likely going to be your council person for Ward 4 again. And I enjoy doing it, and I genuinely respect and appreciate the people that are voting for me, because I guess maybe you don't have a choice. Well, you could write in Mickey Mouse, I suppose. But, the people that are up here, myself included, I like to think we're doing this for the right reasons, and we're really trying to help this stuff get done in the right way. So please get out there, whatever you do, participate, volunteer, vote, do this stuff. It's important.
Thank you, Ms. Tracy Nyan.
We turned it on. All right. I was going to say, it's really been a pleasure to be here tonight. And I really appreciate all the planning that was involved. I know it's not easy to get these events together. These positions require a lot of commitment, time, passion, energy, and knowledge. And I just want to say publicly that I'm so thankful for all my fellow council members, because everyone works so hard. It's nice to see. It's really reassuring. I originally ran for council because I wanted to get involved, and I was really disturbed by the friction that was occurring on council. And I was hearing about that from neighbors and other people. And I think that's really what launched me into getting involved, because that was really disturbing to me. And now we don't always agree on all the issues, but we can keep an open mind and listen to all sides. And quite honestly, a lot of this issues that we discuss, it's like you can see both sides, and it's difficult sometimes to vote. I think we all feel that way, and we have a difficult time sometimes voting. And I guess I didn't really consider that before. My first term, it was unusual for a number of reasons, as it was for some of you that are up here. The election was changed, so we were sworn in late. You couldn't really campaign. I mean, certainly nobody wanted me at their front door during COVID before the campaign. So that kind of put a whole new kink in it. Our meetings started, we were locked down, we were on Zoom, when we were here, we were masks, we were 6 feet apart. It was a difficult transition. I felt, to get to know everybody, or to get to know the processes, because we weren't really here and really together, but everyone was very nice and helpful. That was great. I've learned so much this first term. I've learned that all the issues don't have an easy answer. Wouldn't that be nice if we could just go, okay, this is it, this will solve it, that'll be great. And obviously, if the funding were unlimited, all these decisions would be simple, because most of them are based on money. If we had endless supply, it wouldn't be a problem. I just don't know how I talked and I'm a fast talker. So I thank you so much for having me here. I look forward to serving Ward 3 residents again. And if anyone has any questions, you can email me at 9forwildwood@gmail.com, and hope to see you all out there voting April 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Scott Ottenberg.
Yes, thank you again to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this forum. Also to those of you in the audience who are here tonight, and those of you watching at home. It's been a pleasure serving the people of Ward 3 over the past few months. I have learned much more on this city council than I ever thought I would when I first joined. It's been a pleasure to work with everyone else on the council, people from different backgrounds. And like some of the others have mentioned, we disagree with each other, but we do so respectfully. My main focus going forward will continue to be what it has always been, and that's the residents. The residents are the reason we're here. The residents will be my number one focus going forward. I would be remiss if I didn't state that none of what I may have been able to accomplish on the city council would have been possible without the support of my family. They're the reason I'm able to get done what I do get done. And when you vote for me, you're getting a package deal, because the family comes along with it. If you're interested in more information about my background, what I've done on city council, please go to my website, scottforwildwood.com, Scott, SCOTTFOR, wildwood.com. A lot of information there about my background and work that I've done on the city council. And once again, thank you. And please, everyone, get out to vote on April 5th.
Thank you. Mr. Don Bartoni.
Thank you. And going along with what Scott just said, I'm going to thank my wife first, because this does take a lot of time, and she's very understanding. But I want to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this on. I'm actually going to make a motion at our next council meeting to have you at our regular council meetings with your paddle, because you are the only one that can keep us under 1 minute, much less 5. Because like Rob said, some of us, I'm just looking in the direction. But also thank the people in the audience, the people watching online, and especially the residents of Ward 2. I think the residents of Ward 2 know that I will fight hard to represent their needs. I will protect the city of Wildwood, but I will represent the residents of Ward 2. People who have watched that know me know that I am an independent voter. I will listen to all ideas before making any decisions, and I think my voting record would show that. I don't think there's anything that we do on the council that's more important than voting. I take it very serious. There's times that I have voted, I guess, I've voted on things my wife has questioned me on, but even residents and people I consider friends, and I've explained to them where I'm coming from. And, Joe kind of touched on it a little bit. When you look at it from all angles, at least people can maybe understand that, why I voted the way I do. I'll continue to ensure that the master plan and the city charter are adhered to. Continue to have no property tax in Wildwood. I think that is important. And to continue to be fiscally responsible. I've enjoyed this also more so than I ever thought I would have. I've enjoyed working with the residents. I've enjoyed working with staff, and I've especially enjoyed working with this council. And I look forward to the next 2 years. Vote on April 5th. Whether you're unopposed or not, or your ward, it's always important to exercise your right to vote.
Thank you. And Ms. Clarke, take us home.
Gladly. Thank you so much to the league for coming and doing this for us, and thank you for the staff that facilitated this, because that you spent a lot of hours doing things outside of your regular hourly job in the day. I thank my husband, Eric, who just lost his sister last week, but is here supporting me. And mostly I thank God Almighty, who created this beautiful place of Wildwood for us to have an opportunity to serve. Our council is made up of 16 members, 16 different perspectives, and 16 diverse talents that unify us into one cohesive body. The diversity is a benefit for arriving at fully analyzed decisions. I, as each one on the council, look at all of the criteria and the issues so that we can develop a city, result in a city that is that our founders had in mind, a city where people enjoy visiting, a city where we have unique shopping, a city where we can experience history and natural beauty, a city where disabilities are treated with dignity and respect, and a city where people want to live and don't want to move away. Among the plethora of talents in this group within the city council, mine is a focus on data, not on conclusions that someone made from looking at data themselves, but from the actual data from appropriate testing. I will deeply research each issue with a discerning perspective and look at the information that's available to me to make your city a place where you want to live. Our city planning director so aptly and cleverly coined the motto, planning tomorrow, today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you to all the candidates for participating this evening. And thank you to those in the audience that joined us and those on YouTube. And at this time, we can now give our big whoops and hollers and a hand for all of our candidates. Just a couple quick announcements. Thanks again to all our candidates. Thank you to Wildwood for inviting the League of Women Voters out to help with moderation tonight. And thank you for listening to me trip over my words for much of the evening. If you found tonight's forum to be useful, those in the audience and those online, please think about joining the League of Women Voters and or coming, getting the information and utilizing the information that we provide as an organization. And as it was reiterated or said over and over again by the candidates up here, please get out and vote. Voting is so important, and being a part of the process and having your voice heard is so very important. So please get out and vote. Tuesday, April 5th. The polls will be open from 6 to 7, and you do not need a government issued photo voter ID just yet. So come on out April 5th and make it happen. If you need to find your polling place, you can always find that online on the St. Louis Board of Elections. And if you need additional information regarding the candidates or what is going to be on your ballot April 5th, if you go to vote411.org, it has a full list of all of the information that you need. So once again, thank you so very much. Have a wonderful evening and enjoy the rest of the week.
Thank you. Thank you.